Hello, everyone. This is Kyle Galaz with Poor2Pro Car Sales Training Podcast. Become a sales titan. I'm always so excited about doing this podcast. The feedback I get from you guys on a daily basis through Messenger on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you're finding me, I always appreciate it. It warms my heart that the stuff I'm talking about on this podcast is working. Thank you. If you're on your way to work right now, get pumped. Be excited that you are getting to help people's dreams come true. People wait a long time to buy a car. Make it a great experience for them today. And remember that it's maybe mundane for you. We may sell cars all the time, but that special customer coming in today has waited 4 or 5 years, waiting her turn or his turn to get that car. And finally they come visit you, and they chose you guys to come, and you get to be their salesman. So if you're heading to work, be pumped that you get to do that for people, making their dreams come true. And if you're heading home from a long day's work and you're still trying to learn, kudos, man. That is amazing. Kudos to you for still trying to get better in the car business even after a long day's work. Today is my day off. I'm talking about the car business. This is what I love to do. I'm passionate about it. And until you decide that you are obsessed with the car business and this is your one and only career, at that point things start taking off for you. So the sooner the better. I want to give a shout out to a donator. He sent a donation in last week. His name is Frank Salvino. Thank you, Frank, for donating to the podcast. This is going towards new equipment. I'm hoping to get a new Apple Mac computer, and I'm going to use the podcast to do it. So anybody that can donate, there's links in there to do it. So thank you, Frank Salvino. We got to talk a little bit on Messenger, Instagram, and I look forward to talking with you down the road. I also want to give a shout out for the idea of this episode, Q Ali Seattle. You can find him on Instagram. He works out of Seattle. And he's been one of my most loyal listeners since the beginning of the podcast. And he brought up how to deal with time wasters. So this episode is talking about how to deal with time wasters. Let's get going. Season 3, Episode 3. What is a time waster? And how do you detect them when they come on the lot? Sometimes time wasters can be very good at what they do. Okay, and there's different versions of time wasters. The first version is the true time waster. He's got nothing going on a Saturday. He doesn't have family, and he's bored out of his mind, and he thinks, hey, let me go to some car dealerships and look at some cars. Okay, because he has no plan on buying a car. That's a true time waster. Okay, a curious guy, and no fault of his own. It might just be his character. I don't think the guy in his mind before he leaves to a dealership thinks, I want to waste a car salesman's time. I don't think they think that. I think it's just their character. They got nothing else better to do, and they want to go look at some vehicles. So that's the true time waster. And then there's the pretend time waster. The guy that says all the things, or the girl that says all the things, the customer that makes you feel like they're wasting your time. But in the back of their head, they want to buy a car. And it's your job to figure out if they're a true time waster or a pretend time waster. Because remember, our job, no matter what type of customer they are, is to sell them something that day. Okay? And sometimes we have to convert them from a time waster into a buyer. And remember, that is there. That possibility is there. If they came in a vehicle, then they have purchased a car in the past, which means they eventually are going to need another car. Whether it be today or down the road, they're going to buy another car. If they came in on their feet, that could be a buyer too. Okay, so anybody can be a buyer at the right time in the right moment. It's just figuring out when. And then there's the quick time waster. These are the people that jump in and say, I only got 20, 30 minutes to be here. I got a doctor's appointment. I got to go pick up my kid from school. These are some people that either use that as an excuse to leave quickly, or they truly are that busy. I know people that are that busy that only have a few minutes to pop into a dealership because they're looking for a specific vehicle, and they only got 20 or 30 minutes. Okay, so let's get started on how to deal with these different versions. I'm not going to take up a lot of your time on this podcast because we've already lost a lot of time with the time waster. So we're going to keep this episode a little shorter, but it's crucial that we go over it. And there's still value in even a time waster. So we'll get to the true time waster at the end. Right now we're going to talk about the pretend time waster. These are the people that are saying the things that make you believe that they're wasting your time. But what they're doing is giving you their defenses, their walls. The walls are up. Because if they say all these things like, we're just looking, we're not in the market for a few more months, I'm waiting for my house to close, I got some money coming from an insurance claim, okay? These are things that they say that make you feel like, man, it's a Saturday, everyone around me selling cars, trust me, it's happened to me, and you get this guy, okay? But what can you do? What creative things can you do to sell them that day? The pretend time waster needs to be asked questions. Because remember, we are pros at breaking down the psychological side of a customer. Are they really wasting my time, or is there a car deal here? And the way you do that is by asking them questions about their scenario. If it's an insurance thing, did their vehicle get totaled and they're waiting for the check? Is it an insurance thing like, we don't know if the vehicle's totaled or not, and now we're just kind of preemptive shopping so that way get an idea of what the market's like, but I don't know if my vehicle's totaled? Ask them questions about their vehicle. Maybe you can determine, man, that thing sounds totaled, and you can move forward in a deal. Or is it, hey, I'm rebuilding my credit and I don't want to buy a car right now because I know the interest rate will be higher. Okay, those are just objections that you can overcome. They're using those time-wasting verbiages as a defense mechanism, but it's our job as a professional car salesman to break those walls down, ask them questions, and push them through the process, because they're going to buy a car. They just need to meet the right salesman that can overcome their own objections, that they're fearful and defensive, and then you can help them get a vehicle now. Okay? The guy that wants to rebuild his credit, what's something you can tell him? The best way to rebuild credit is by getting a car loan. Okay? So why don't you secure the vehicle that you like, build up your credit, your balance is coming down, and then refinance it when your score's higher. If you continue to wait to get your credit score, the market is only going up. Statistically, the market over time only goes up. Cars back in the 60s, a brand new one was $3,000. Now they're $90,000 for a truck. So the longer you wait to rebuild your credit, the higher the vehicles are. So if you buy something now and you pay a little bit higher interest rate, those payments you're making on that higher interest rate is lowering your balance. So when you go to refinance, now your balance is lower, you got a better interest rate, and you've rebuilt your credit with the car, and now you get to drive a car you want. Okay? So you got to get creative on things to say to the pretend time waster. Really, it's just objections. And the way you defeat objections is by asking them questions and building a case to close them. Okay? Now there's the quick time waster, the people that have a doctor's appointment, or they're picking up their kid, and they just got to see if we have this vehicle in stock. You got to stop them in their tracks and get their information, because you're going to spend 20 or 30 minutes with them showing them vehicles, and the moment that they got to go, they're not going to leave you information. They're going to say, well, I'll get back with you. We know that's not the case. So when you have a person that says, hey, I only got a few minutes here, you got to slow them down and get their information. Oh, no problem. My name's Kyle Galaz, and you are? Boom. Hey, Mike Waters. Nice to meet you. Here's my card. I know you're in a hurry. Here's my card. I want to show you on my card. Here's my email, and here's my phone number. It's my direct line to my cell phone. And since you're in a hurry, let me get your information real quick. That way, after you leave, I can still do research for you on what vehicles we may have and stuff that's freshly traded in that's not even on the lot yet. And I don't want you to miss out on something that's just come in and it's not going to be here in your 20 minutes. If you get the information before they continue on with you by giving your information first, that's the easiest way to get it. It's called reciprocity. Then after they leave, you don't just have 20 minutes with them anymore. You have as long as it takes to sell them a car by doing proper follow-up. So the quick time waster is the guy that comes in real fast. Get their information right off the bat by giving them your information and giving them a reason why you want their information. No, I'm not going to just do follow-up. I'm not doing follow-up with you, Mr. Customer. You only have 20 minutes here, and we probably have 2 hours worth of inventory to look at. So let me do the legwork while you're out doing your chores and your pickups and your this, and then let me find you the right vehicle. But I need a piece of contact information. Once you get their contact information, then you can call them until they buy or die. Okay? So we got the pretend time waster. that it's just objections. They said all the right things to make you believe they're wasting your time, but really it's you digging deep and being a salesman and overcoming the objections. Then there's the quick time waster, the guy that you need to get their information right away. Really, you should do that with any customer, but especially the quick time waster, because once they say I got to go, they're not going to give you the information. Test it out. Try it. They're going to jump in their car and go because, I got to get going. No, don't worry. I'll call back. I got your card. It's got your number. You got to get their information right away. I got some notes here. Let's see. All right, moving on. Let's talk about the true time waster. Okay? The true time waster. This is the guy that it comes in on a Saturday at 10 o'clock. Other salesmen are starting to sell cars, and you got this guy and you're stuck with him. What do you do with the true time waster? I have the exact answer. I know how to deal with the true time waster. The guy that is like, your mind, you got that lump in your throat. Everyone's selling cars, and you want to strangle the guy. But remember, it's his character. He's not doing it on purpose. And if he is doing it on purpose, shame on him. But the way you deal with a true time waster is by forcing him through the car deal process and by asking closing questions. Okay? If you truly use your salesman intuition and your needs assessment, and you're figuring him out and you're asking him questions, and you've determined, holy moly, this guy's a time waster. I really got the true time waster. What you do at that point is push him through the process and ask him closing questions. Is the true time waster wasting your time, or are you wasting your own time with the true time waster? Think about that. I'm going to say it again. Is the true time waster wasting your time as a salesman, or are you wasting your own time with a true time waster? Okay? Remember what I say in the other episodes. This is our house. You don't get to tell me how to do my job. You don't get to tell me that we're going to skip the steps of the sale. You don't get to come into my dealership where I've worked for years and spent thousands of hours a year and tell me how to do my job, or get to dictate the pace of the sale. So if I'm detecting as a salesman a true time waster, I get to determine who's wasting whose time. You're not going to waste my time, and this is how you do it. You push him through the process. No matter what he says and he's wasting time, you don't want to be rude to the guy because he came in a vehicle. He's going to eventually buy something. His car's going to eventually break down. You still want to be cordial and have good customer service and have the guy still refer people to you. So you're never going to be rude to the time waster, but you're going to push him through the process. And the way you do that is say, well, let's take a look at what inventory I have and find something. What exactly are you looking for? Well, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? When you left today and you're thinking, hey, I'm thinking about buying a car. You're doing preemptive thinking for the guy. Yeah, I was thinking about buying a car. Yeah, what were you thinking about buying? Because no one really comes on the lot and just says, I'm just open to anything, right? There's always something that you were thinking about buying. What was that before you left and before you arrived here? Okay. Are these questions a little bit abrupt? Yes. But what we're doing is pushing the time waster through the process. And we're cornering him a little bit by asking closing questions. If we could get your payment and the price exactly where you want it to be, would you buy the truck today? Right? You wouldn't normally ask that right up front with someone that you're building rapport and you're trying to build a relationship with. But again, if you've truly detected the time waster, you're never going to get in trouble by your boss by saying, hey, all I did was ask him closing question. The guy blew out of here, right? Your boss is going to say, well, why didn't you ask him for a test drive? I did. Why didn't you ask him to come in and work numbers? I did like 5 times. But the guy he wouldn't commit to anything, so he ended up leaving. You're not going to get in trouble for that, okay? The only thing you're going to do is speed up the time waster's agenda. And you're either going to convert him into a buyer by pushing him through the process, or he's going to leave and no longer waste your time. So you can shrink 3 hours of your day into 25 minutes by asking closing questions. And sometimes you have to be a little abrupt about it, but it's either your time or you're on his schedule. So you need to determine, am I the professional or is he the professional time waster, and get going in the process. Okay? So let's think about some of these time wasters. Now, are there different versions of time wasters I'm not covering? Yeah, there is. Okay? think about each one, and they'll probably fit into one of these categories: the pretend time waster, the true time waster, or the quick time waster. Hey, I got to get going. No, I'm just looking today. The pretend time waster, you can close. The quick time waster, you can close, but it may not be at that exact moment. It may be in a few hours or in a few days because he had to get going and he's got a busy schedule. How many businessmen do you know that come into your dealership that are answering calls, getting text messages? They got to go check on their businesses, and they really only have a few minutes. Excuse me. They really only have a few minutes to be with you. We've all dealt with those guys. Most of those deals are done over the phone, over email, over text on the quick time waster. So really, he's not a time waster, but at that moment he did. The pretend time waster is putting up guards and shields, and their defense mechanism is that. But the true time waster, how do you deal with that guy, is by pushing him through the process whether he likes it or not, and asking him closing questions the whole way. Now, you're going to have to read the scenario because I won't be in front of you to help, but you got to read the scenario of if you're pushing a little too hard or you're not pushing hard enough. But remember the 11 steps of the sale. Let's get this guy through the 11 steps. Let's go take it for a test drive. No, I'm just looking today, right? Okay, no problem. But before you came here, you decided, hey, I want to go look at some cars. Why would you want to look at it and then not test drive it? That's the whole experience about looking at vehicles, is test driving. So let me go get my dealer plate, make a copy of your license, and then we'll go drive it. And then if you like the way it drives, then we can sit down and do the numbers. Okay? You're pushing him through the process. He's either going to say, no, I got to get going because, well, I met a salesman, or he might buy a car. Okay? So think about those things. This is a little bit quicker of an episode, but why waste time with a time-wasting episode? Let me see if I missed any of my notes here. We're good. All right, I just want to say thank you again to Frank Salvino and Q Ali for giving me the idea of dealing with the time waster. There's a lot of things and hurdles you got to jump in a car deal. It's easier to say it over a podcast or to tell a guy, hey, go do this on the lot. It's harder to do it when you're in front of a customer, right? And talking in front of a customer and pushing them through the process and being almost a little bit of a bull. You're pushing them through the process. But these are things you got to learn to get good at, because you just have to. If you're going to spend a career in this car business, you have to learn to deal with everybody. Some people might get offended. Oh, you don't want to push too hard. Da, 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 da. Well, they're okay with wasting 3 hours with a guy that has no intentions to buy. Okay? I'm not okay with that. What I'm okay with is trying my very best while I have a guy here in a timely fashion to sell him a car. And if I asked him questions that helped get through the process and he bailed on me, then I did my job. He did a bad job being a customer and buying a car. If I have the pretend time waster that thinks they're wasting your time and you think they're wasting their time, but there is a solution to this and you will find a car deal, that's a guy I want to help out. A guy that doesn't even know he wants to buy a car. I'm okay with that because I can close that customer and get him in there. And then the quick time waster, hey, I'm all right with that too, because I do a lot of car deals. You do a lot of car deals over the phone, over the email, over text. Sometimes you only got a few minutes with them, but it's crucial to get their information right off the bat with the quick time waster. All right, Poor2Pro, Kyle Galas signing out. I look forward to the next episode. I got some great plans coming up. Remember, I'm offering the one-on-ones through FaceTime or Skype. Message me if you're interested in that. It's a 1-hour session. Message me and I'll give you the price for it. Let's get you dialed in, because you're an investment to yourself and you're an asset to your dealership. And why not be the best at your dealership? Thank you guys for listening in. Kyle Galas, signing out.